If you recently retired and decided to settle down in one of 3 specific United States, you are quietly bleeding out $5,000 every single year, and you probably do not even realize it. That money is vanishing from your fixed income right now, draining your hard-earned nest egg and jeopardizing the peace of mind you worked 40 years to build. But the most alarming part is how these state governments are legally siphoning this money through hidden mechanisms that your financial advisor likely forgot to mention. Welcome. I have spent years analyzing retirement tax codes, hidden state fees, and municipal cost of living data to protect retirees from catastrophic financial mistakes. Today, we are going to walk through exactly which 3 states are acting as massive wealth traps for seniors. I will break down the exact mathematical loopholes these states use to drain your accounts, how these hidden costs compound over a 20-year retirement, and what you can do to shield your savings if you are already trapped in one of them. We will start with a state that falsely markets itself as friendly to retirees, move on to a state with the most aggressive property tax framework in the country, and finally, I will reveal the #1 state that penalizes you simply for drawing on your own Social Security and pensions. Let us begin with the state of Illinois. On paper, Illinois looks like it might actually be a haven for your golden years. If you look at a simple tax brochure, you will see that Illinois does not tax Social Security income, it does not tax pension income, it does not tax withdrawals from 401k or IRA accounts. For a brief moment, you might think you have found a Midwestern paradise that allows you to keep every dime of your retirement income. But this is exactly how the trap is set. The state of Illinois operates on a system of massive revenue shifting. They do not take your money on the income side. Instead, they completely obliterate your wealth on the property and consumption side. Let us talk about property taxes. Illinois has the second highest property tax rate in the entire nation, sitting at a staggering average of 2.27%. To put that into perspective, if you own a modest $300,000 home, you are paying over $6,800 a year just in property taxes. Over 10 years, that is nearly $70,000. But wait, it gets worse. Those property taxes are not fixed. Local municipalities in Illinois have severe pension crises of their own, particularly regarding retired teachers and municipal workers. To fund these deep deficits, local governments consistently hike property assessments. You might pay off your mortgage, but in Illinois, you are essentially renting your own home from the government forever. You are losing thousands of dollars a year compared to the national average property tax rate simply for the privilege of keeping your house. Let us pause and think about that. Did you factor in an unpredictable, ever-increasing yearly rent payment to the state when you calculated your retirement budget? Most people do not. But property taxes are just the first layer of the Illinois wealth trap. Let us look at how they nickel and dime your daily survival through consumption taxes. The state boasts a combined state and average local sales tax rate of nearly 9%. Every time you buy a household item, clothing, or electronics, you are paying a massive premium. Even more insidious is the tax on gasoline. Illinois consistently ranks in the top 10 for the highest gas taxes in the country. When you are retired, you finally have the time to drive, to visit your grandchildren, to take road trips across the state. Every time you fill up your tank, the state is quietly siphoning off a significant percentage of your budget. And let us not forget the hidden fees attached to your utility bills. Illinois residents face an array of municipal taxes on electricity, natural gas, and telecommunications. When you add the excess property tax, the bloated sales tax, and the relentless utility and gas taxes together, that so-called tax-free retirement income is completely negated. The average middle-class retiree in Illinois is losing well over $5,000 a year in excess consumption and property costs compared to what they would pay in a state like Florida, Tennessee, or Nevada. The tension here is agonizing for seniors who realize too late that their fixed income simply cannot keep pace with the localized cost of living. The payoff to understanding this is realizing that a state's income tax rate is nothing but a magic trick designed to distract you from the taxes they are hiding in your everyday life. Moving on to the second state that is devastating retiree portfolios. This state takes the concept of a high cost of living and elevates it to an absolute art form. We are talking about New Jersey. If you live in New Jersey, the $5,000 annual loss is a conservative estimate. For many, the financial bleeding is much, much worse. Let us address the elephant in the room immediately. New Jersey holds the title for the absolute highest property taxes in the United States. The average effective property tax rate is 2.47%. If you own a modest home valued at $400,000, which in New Jersey is often just a very basic older construction, you are paying nearly $10,000 every single year in property taxes. That is nearly $1,000 a month coming directly out of your retirement savings just to cover the taxes on a home you supposedly own free and clear. If your total retirement income from Social Security and modest savings is $40,000 a year, 25% of your entire livelihood is instantly devoured by local tax assessors. How can anyone feel secure when a quarter of their fixed income vanishes before they have even bought groceries or paid a medical bill? But New Jersey does not stop there. The state presents a uniquely terrifying scenario for retirees who want to leave a legacy for their children or grandchildren. While New Jersey recently eliminated its estate tax, it maintained its dreaded inheritance tax. This is a crucial distinction that catches thousands of families off guard. If you plan to leave your remaining wealth to a sibling, a niece, a nephew, or a friend, the state of New Jersey is going to reach its hand into the grave and take up to 16% of everything over $500. Yes, you heard that correctly. $500. You spent a lifetime paying income taxes, property taxes, and sales taxes to build that nest egg, and New Jersey penalizes you for passing it on to someone outside of your immediate direct descendants. This forces many retirees into expensive estate planning strategies, requiring them to hire costly attorneys to set up complex trusts just to bypass this aggressive taxation. The legal fees alone will easily drain thousands of dollars from your account. Have you ever tracked exactly how much you spend just moving around your own state? In New Jersey, the toll roads are absolutely unavoidable. The New Jersey Turnpike and the Garden State Parkway are essentially private taxation highways. For a retiree trying to live an active lifestyle, visiting doctors, going to the shore, or seeing family, these tolls add up to hundreds of dollars a year. Then you have the baseline cost of goods and services. Everything from a haircut to a plumber to a simple lunch at a diner costs significantly more in New Jersey because the business owners themselves are passing their own astronomical property taxes and state compliance fees down to you, the consumer. You are absorbing the entire state's economic dysfunction through inflated prices. And let us talk about healthcare. While Medicare is a federal program, your out-of-pocket costs, supplemental insurance premiums, and the cost of long-term care facilities are highly localized. New Jersey has some of the most expensive long-term care and assisted living costs in the nation. If you or your spouse ever need a nursing home, the cost can easily exceed $12,000 a month. Because the cost of doing business is so high, the healthcare infrastructure passes those premiums on to seniors. The hidden $5,000 yearly loss in New Jersey is composed of the sheer premium you pay just to exist within its borders. The tragedy is that many seniors stay because their families are there. They accept financial ruin in exchange for geographic proximity to their grandchildren. But the reality is, by staying in New Jersey, you are quietly eroding the very financial security that would ensure you never become a burden to those same grandchildren. And if you try to leave? New Jersey is notorious for conducting aggressive domicile audits. If you try to move to Florida to escape the taxes, New Jersey investigators might literally track your cell phone records, your credit card swipes, and your dental appointments to prove you still technically live in New Jersey, just so they can hit you with an exit tax bill. It is a financial prison disguised as a state. We have covered the massive hidden property traps in Illinois and the relentless cost of living and inheritance penalties in New Jersey. Both of these states use clever legislative maneuvering to drain your nest egg, but neither of them compares to the absolute worst offender. In just a moment, I'm going to reveal the third state. This state is so aggressive in its taxation that it actually targets the one sacred stream of income almost every retiree relies on. It is a state that essentially punishes you for having the audacity to survive into old age. You will want to hear this because if you are living here or planning to move here, you need to restructure your entire financial plan immediately. This brings us to the third and most financially hazardous state for retirees in America, Connecticut. Connecticut represents the ultimate death by 1,000 cuts. Unlike Illinois, which attempts to hide its greed by keeping retirement income tax-free, Connecticut comes right to the front door and demands a cut of everything you have. For years, Connecticut has been notorious for taxing Social Security benefits. Let that sink in. You paid into the Social Security system out of every paycheck your entire working life. The federal government already subjects a portion of those benefits to taxation depending on your income, but Connecticut decides that is not enough. They want their own piece of the pie. While they have recently passed legislation to phase out the tax on Social Security and pension income, there are strict income cliffs and brackets. If your adjusted gross income pushes even $1 over their specific thresholds, which is very easy to do if you have a sudden medical expense that forces you to take a larger withdrawal from your IRA, suddenly a massive portion of your Social Security and pension becomes fully taxable at the state level. You are penalized for needing your own money. They essentially trap you in a permanent mathematical puzzle. You are forced to artificially suppress your income, denying yourself the quality of life you deserve, just to avoid triggering a massive state tax bomb. But let us look beyond just the taxation of your retirement checks. Connecticut has the third highest property tax rate in the country, sitting just below New Jersey and Illinois. So not only are they taxing your income, but they are also draining your liquid cash through massive property assessments. And the utility costs in Connecticut are absolutely brutal. Retirees spend a lot of time in their homes. You need to keep the heat running during the bitter New England winters, and you need the air conditioning during the humid summers. Connecticut consistently ranks in the top 2 or 3 states for the highest electricity rates in the continental United States. You are paying a massive premium just to keep the lights on and the house warm. When you calculate the difference between an average utility bill in a state like North Carolina compared to Connecticut, you are looking at a loss of over $1,000 a year just on electricity and heating fuel alone. Then there is the overall cost of living, groceries, healthcare, insurance. It is all exponentially higher. Connecticut is home to some of the wealthiest zip codes in the world, and the state's pricing and taxation structure reflects that extreme wealth. But what about the average middle-class retiree? The state government regulates its economy as if everyone is a retired hedge fund manager from Fairfield County. If you are a retired teacher, a mechanic, or an office worker, you are forced to pay the inflated prices driven by the ultra-wealthy. This creates an invisible, crushing pressure on your fixed income. A loaf of bread, a gallon of milk, a basic plumbing repair. Every single transaction carries the hidden premium of Connecticut's bloated economy. Furthermore, let us discuss what happens when you decide you have had enough and try to leave, or worse, what happens when you pass away. Connecticut is the only state in the country that has a standalone gift tax. If you try to give your money away to your children while you are still alive to avoid taxes, Connecticut tracks it and taxes it if it exceeds their limits. They have essentially built a fortress around your wealth. They tax you when you earn it. They tax you when you spend it. They tax the property you bought with it. They tax the Social Security you receive. They tax you if you try to give your money away, and they tax your estate when you die. It is a suffocating ecosystem of financial extraction. The $5,000 annual loss I mentioned at the start of this video is honestly the absolute best-case scenario if you live in Connecticut. Between the utility premiums, the property taxes, the income tax traps, and the inflated cost of goods, a middle-class retiree is easily bleeding out $6,000, $7,000, or even $8,000 of purchasing power every single year compared to a tax-friendly state. That is money that should be paying for a vacation. That is money that should be padding your emergency medical fund. Instead, it is being swallowed by a state bureaucracy that views your retirement accounts as its own personal piggy bank. Let us talk about the psychological toll of this financial bleeding, because it is just as damaging as the monetary loss. Retirement is supposed to be the period of your life where the anxiety of money finally subsides. You have climbed the mountain, you have done the work. But living in Illinois, New Jersey, or Connecticut forces you into a state of permanent financial defense. You become afraid to spend your own money. You hesitate to turn up the thermostat. You worry about the local town council meeting because you know another property tax hike is always just around the corner. You start cutting back on the simple joys, skipping a dinner out, delaying a necessary home repair, or buying cheaper, less nutritious food. This constant underlying stress is not just bad for your wallet, it is devastating to your health. Studies have repeatedly shown that financial stress is a leading contributor to elevated blood pressure, heart disease, and cognitive decline in seniors. By choosing to retire in a state that aggressively targets your wealth, you are not just losing $5,000 a year, you are potentially shaving years off of your life due to the relentless, unavoidable pressure of making ends meet in a hostile economic environment. And what happens when inflation spikes, as we have experienced so severely in recent years? In a low-tax state, inflation is painful. But in these 3 high-tax states, inflation is a compounding disaster. Because property taxes are based on home values, and home values often rise during inflationary periods, your property taxes skyrocket along with the inflation. Because sales taxes are a percentage of the price of goods, as groceries and gas get more expensive, the absolute dollar amount of tax you pay to the state also increases. The state government actually profits from your suffering during periods of high inflation. They collect more revenue while you struggle to afford basic necessities. It is a vicious, unforgiving cycle that disproportionately punishes those living on fixed incomes. Let us briefly recap the crucial realities we have uncovered today. First, we expose the Illinois illusion, where the promise of tax-free retirement income is completely wiped out by the second highest property taxes in the nation and relentless localized fees on everyday consumption. Second, we broke down the New Jersey wealth trap, where astronomical property taxes, inescapable toll roads, and a punitive inheritance tax ensure that both your current lifestyle and your family's future legacy are heavily penalized. Third, we unmasked Connecticut as the ultimate financial drain, a state that subjects your Social Security and pensions to complex tax cliffs, charges you exorbitant utility rates, and enforces a unique gift tax that prevents you from even giving your own money away freely. These states are systematically designed to extract your wealth through 1,000 hidden cuts. The financial realities of retirement are harsh, and the decisions you make about where you live will ultimately dictate the quality of your final decades. But you do not have to navigate this alone, and sharing information is our best defense against these hidden wealth traps. I want you to go down to the comments right now and tell me your experience. Are you currently living in Illinois, New Jersey, or Connecticut and feeling this financial squeeze? Or did you escape one of these states? And if so, where did you go, and how has it changed your retirement budget? Comment your story below so others can learn from your real-world experience, and I will see you in the next video.